how you characterize the performance of the economy in the first 6 months of the year.
Thank you very much. I think one would be quite fair to say the first half of the year was chaotic. It was a very bad period. I think for the viewers and the listeners, they would want to understand the figures for us to qualify what we're talking about. So when we ended the year, at the beginning of the year, inflation was just around 60% annual inflation. And our government was quite optimistic that by the end of the year, inflation will end at 25 to 30%. Now, as we are speaking, we are talking of 200% inflation. If we round it up, 192%. So we are off the target by far, and there's no indication that we will hit our target. Of course, we'll go back to that discussion later on. So we are doing badly. Workers are suffering. Obviously, when you have inflation, workers are suffering because of serious erosion of wages. Their money is now meaningless. Business is suffering because inflation erodes capital. Now, the other menace is the exchange rate spiral, which I've noticed this first half of the year. We started the year at a rate of below $120 against $1 US official exchange rate. Now official exchange rate is $375, 3 times higher than it was when we began the year. But you understand that the budget by the Minister of Finance, one of the key assumptions for the economic trajectory which we were paving for this year was to have a stable exchange rate. And it was quite a strong assumption because it would then also put everything in the same direction. The budget will be performing better, incomes will be performing well. So the exchange rate is not stable. It's running away and it's not turning back. The other menace also which you are facing in the economy, issue of decay of social services, your health. Because sometimes we talk of economics, but we forget economics covers also social services like health and education. These sectors are in doldrums. Why? Because they are at the receiving end of the economic ills. So this is the picture I am giving. When you go to hospitals, there's no medicine, there's no supporting infrastructure and utilities which are required. Basic stationery is not there in hospitals. Basic drugs. You know, if you interact with the hospitals very closely, if you are a practical professional, you come across a situation where you see women who are coming to give birth, coming to register, being requested to buy basic requirements which should be provided by the hospitals, like your notebook, salt, very basic things which should not be requested from a patient, a Zimbabwean, where health is a constitutional right. And if you don't provide that, you're not registered. So that's how bad it is. So this first year in brief is chaotic. This has been a very painful period. It was characterized from policy making by several press statements, several policy pronouncements, which again, in my view, which we'll go into detail, whether good is adding poison to a sick patient. So there's no clarity of policy, I think from a policy point of view, because clarity can be given and guaranteed when you pronounce something and you stand with it. You give clarity to people. But if you pronounce a statement today and in 10 days you reverse it, or within a week you reverse it, you are creating what you call policy uncertainty. So you create a situation where the market watchers and the players will become so confused. I think one of the profound statements which has been said by Winston Churchill was that if you legislate 10,000 legislations or regulations, you are creating lawlessness. And this is what is happening here. We are seeing now lawlessness where everyone is no longer respecting the laws funds, which are standing rules, which we'll go into detail later on, because there's no clarity, there's no policy direction, there's no policy predictability and certainty.
Yeah.
So we are in a state where it's a mist. You don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
We are lost somewhere. And we are looking for someone to save us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You speak of inflation that at the beginning of the year, the figures were very low, and now it is gone to close to 200%. Now, what would you say, for the benefit of our viewers as well, are the drivers of this inflation as it stands?
Right. So the major driver of inflation is money supply. Then the second one, we can then categorize them as cost push factors. I want to look at those two factors. The money supply has been one of the major drivers, and I'm happy that yesterday, I think it's yesterday, the governor of Central Bank was speaking to Parliament, and he was quite right to say government program, the procurement system of government must be looked at. Remember last time when we came here, first show,
yes,
we talked about the role of Minister of Finance funding infrastructure, building roads, dams using cash.
Yeah.
And I gave figures that 45% of the total budget is going towards construction work and the agricultural subsidies. So we are talking about close to 450 billion RTGS before this budget the best. But in history, when we looked at the budget of the Minister of Finance from 2019 to date, agriculture and construction related votes was budgeted by more than 100%. So I guaranteed that even as we speak right now, they could have spent over 450 billion. The possibility is very high. And that money is going to the market. So when it goes to the market, you are paid as farmers of cotton farmers by government because of also lack of confidence in the market. Farmers run to buy US dollars. Contractors, once they are paid, they run to buy US dollars. And when you buy that US dollar, the rate goes up. So you now have what we call exchange rate induced inflation. But what we need to understand, that exchange rate has been caused by money supply. But also on the other side, excessive money which is coming to the market through this construction work. Some don't buy foreign currency, they buy properties. That's why you can't buy a house today. They're very expensive because you just put your money into the housing to save your money, and some buy stocks. So again, when you are buying, you can think of the war veteran package time, that when you put more money in the market, the price also goes up because of high demand.
Yeah.
So that is the one side which government must pay attention to. And we've been saying this, I think now for more than 3 years, religiously, I think every month. But I think we are missing each other somewhere. I don't know how we are missing each other. Even on one-on-one discussions, I had that privilege. I remember I referred to the Victoria Falls pre-budget consultation, which was held in November. I think Parliament of Zimbabwe did a very good thing. They called me there. I was discussing with the Minister of Finance and the Governor of Central Bank presentation, and I put this together. I did not see refusal from the two. But I don't know why they can't then realize that we should find a new formula of funding road and construction. So I was talking about money supply.
Yeah.
The second factor is cost push. So we are talking about cost of business, of running a business. Wage spirals. Yeah. Because wages are being adjusted regularly. But when they are adjusted, they are factored into the production cost. Then the consumer will pay through higher prices. That's number one. Even on government side as well. It's been the same thing. They've been adjusting wages, but also to say that the cost of fuel has been a menace. Yeah. I'm sure viewers know that inflation, the price of fuel was around $130 a liter at the beginning of the year. Right now we're talking about 188 cents, $1.88 a liter, which could have gone even to $2 as government is saying that they've had to forfeit some of the levies. But let's just talk about 188. Fuel is a very, very critical driver of inflation because of its role in the value chain. And in some cases, products which has got a long value chain, which start from, say, the farm, it goes to the milling, it goes to the baking, it finds itself in the shop like bread. They will suffer higher cost because at each point you use fuel in terms of distribution and also production.
There is an added cost.
It's even worse when you're using generators, when power is going on. So those are major drivers. But then the last one now, which is going to be, I think the Reserve Bank has also been increasing interest rates. That also has good effect because it's a cost of money. So when you look at the costing model of any business, they also put into account the cost of money. Taxes, that's my last point. Just imagine what the 4% tax would do on the costing model. Don't look at 4% as 4%. You remember the 4% tax on transaction in US dollars? So if you are starting again from the value chain, if you go through the value chain, the cumulative effect of that 4% might be 40%. It depends on how long the value chain is. The same applies with the 2%, which has been there since the start of this second dispensation. It is a thorn in the flesh. That's why you see that when the Minister of Finance was inaugurated, I think that was in August 2018, annual inflation was 5%. But we have seen inflation reaching 837.5% in July 2020. One of that driver are taxes over and above other factors we have talked about, like money supply. So if you continue to leave those higher taxes, particularly those which have got a cumulative effect, if it is per year, it's fine. But if it is a 2% per transaction, like when I send money to my mother, $100 through EcoCash, I pay $4. When she withdraw, she pays $4. The two of us have been paying $8. So if I'm running a business, I have to factor that there can be an effect of double taxation, but I have to count that effect into account. So government need to look at these things holistically. We are outside government. So sometimes we try to see imagination, what could be the issue. But the government, because they have the numbers, central bank has got figures, they should then do some simulation to really see where we're losing it. Because sometimes we prescribe measures which are not addressing this specific cause. And I'm saying this because I have not seen any measure which is addressing money supply from government side